Hello, I'm Bill McCartney, and this is race 2 in the AAMI Sydney Challenge for 18-foot skiffs. With me again is Warwick Rooklin, and Warwick, there's no doubt that Prudential's right back in it.
Oh no, Rob Brown is doing what he does best, and that's cranking up the pressure. And I think Phil Barnett's starting to feel that pressure, Bill.
Well, we'll soon see. They're gearing up for a start in race 2. Again carrying their biggest #1 rigs, and not a bad breeze blowing there just at the moment as they get up towards the start line. We're on board with Skilled Engineering.
Come on, let's go!
And Andrew DeVola exhorting his crew to give of their best as they come up to the start line once again at the windward end where they always seem to be, and they're across the line now and they're off and running. And Skilled Engineering has done very, very well. Closest to us at the windward end of the line, a good clean start by all skiffs. Bank of New Zealand, here's Xerox, Bank of New Zealand just behind them. They've done well. Elabashe, a good start. Prudential down at the bottom end of the course also has good clean air. And now they face this fluky southeasterly to see how they'll go in the second heat of the AAMI Sydney Challenge.
Yes, and the starting line was biased, so the left-hand side of the starting line was actually favoured, and we saw Prudential and Elabashe at the favoured end. But what the breeze does as they get further out will determine who gets the best start.
And of course, on Sydney Harbour with this fluky southeasterly, you get tremendous amount of change in the breeze. The speed changes, the direction changes, and thus as the skiffs get separated, their positions on the course get changed and they have the opportunity to catch up when they get out the back door a bit. Now coming out towards us still is the tip-top wide high five. She tacked early to get clear air. Elabashe's also gone back out the other side. These skiffs still coming out to the left-hand side of the course with the wind coming over their right-hand side, and they've commenced the zigzag pattern up towards the top mark for the first time.
And Bank of New Zealand is in behind Xerox and really would rather not be there, but can't change direction because the boat on top of them has right of way.
There's the view of it from the sky. Xerox feeding distorted air back onto the sails of Bank of New Zealand and impeding their progress. Now Prudential changes directions, coming back now with the wind over her left-hand side, and after doing well early is now suffering from a soft patch in the air, and you see Bank of New Zealand's got up and been able to pass them on the first crossing. Also passing them is Skilled Engineering, so Andrew DeVola again having an excellent start.
Andrew's impressed me throughout the last couple of regattas. He's been in there, he's been aggressive, and he's been knocking on the door of the other boats. And the course today, starting at Chowder Bay, up to Shark Island, and then back down to Chowder Bay. They'll do that twice.
The breeze coming in from a southeasterly direction straight down the course, and here comes Elabashe and tip-top wide high five out to the right of Prudential. They went out to that side earlier, made the break earlier. They seem to be in good breeze at the moment and doing very nicely indeed. On board with Skilled Engineering, still going out to the left with the wind coming over the right-hand side, and Skilled Engineering crosses ahead of Xerox. So Skilled Engineering currently up there in third position.
And they've all hit a bit of a hole there, big hole in the breeze. You can see everybody's had to run in off the end of the wings, but now the pressure just coming back a little bit, and Bank of New Zealand and Xerox are getting back up to speed again. The rigs today, everybody has a #1 rig in other words, the biggest rig available, because the conditions are very light.
Prudential makes a move. She came out this side a little bit earlier than the Bank and Xerox, picked up breeze, got pressure, got a nice switch in direction, switched a little bit more into the south. As she tacks again now, Prudential appears to have assumed the lead after a really good little dogfight up on this first beat to windward.
Yes, and the tactics are so important in this sort of breeze. And when you see Bank of New Zealand tacking there, in other words, changing direction, and fell into a little bit of a hole as they went round. But the breeze starting to increase as they start to get up towards about midway through the first beat. Prudential with good speed, and Elabashe doing very well indeed up there near the shore.
So well, in fact, Warwick, that she now leads this race. So Adrian Carlin has piloted Elabashe very, very smartly indeed up into first place, and also making a move and going very well, tip-top wide high five up into third. Now Adrian Carlin and the team on board Elabashe have it all to do, because they've been in this position before. They've led races. They've got the hot shots right behind them, but it's there to be taken if they can do it. Down here in fifth position, I beg your pardon, in fourth position is Skilled Engineering, so Andrew DeVola still having a good race.
Yes, and when they go into the breeze like this, they've really got to think about where the breeze is coming from, how the angle is, and they've got to just pick it right. But Elabashe just going fantastic here at the moment. These are the sort of conditions that Adrian Carlin just loves. The breeze is light, it's shifting, and the boat is moving across the water very nicely.
Xerox coming in on the starboard tack. She's made a directional change since we last saw her. Now with the wind over her right-hand side and crosses well behind. So once again, Phil Barnett in strife here. Prudential ahead, Ella Bachet ahead, and I would say tip-top wide high five also ahead. So Xerox got plenty to do.
Yes, and that's a good example of how things can change very quickly in this light, fluky conditions.
Up towards the top mark now, Xerox. Back there in 4th position, crosses just behind what tip-top wide high five, currently clinging to 3rd position and having their best race of this series so far. The race leader, Ella Bachet, and that was tip-top wide high five who went through screen, so she's doing very nicely indeed. But Ella Bachet being sailed very coolly indeed by Adrian Carlin, Craig Ramsden and Neil McDonald. They lead this race.
Yes, and Neil's been to the Olympics. He's very good with the tactics, and those sort of tactics are paying off for them right now because they're leading the race from Prudential with, I think, tip-top 3rd and Xerox probably in 4th.
There is no doubt at this stage that Ella Bachet is going to round the top mark with a good little lead over Prudential. The big question then comes down to spinnaker sets, the extra sail that's going to come out of the bag. It is crucial for them to get in and get that spinnaker set smoothly, otherwise the really good crews behind them will soon run them down.
And Ella Bachet going for the spinnaker, they're hoisting it up the mast now. Craig Ramsden running in, and it's not going out all that freely. They don't need this, they need a good set to get away, to capitalise on their good first windward beat. And out it goes now. Craig Ramsden pulling it on, and a much better set on board Prudential, and they close up probably about 10 seconds.
Around 3rd, tip-top wide high five. Andrew Cuddy having a great race. The boys reefing it up. I beg your pardon, she's 4th. Xerox has slipped up into 3rd position, so Phil Barnett made up a lot of time in the latter half of that tack to windward. 4th was tip-top wide high five, and Skilled Engineering right behind them 5th.
Ella Bachet going for the jibe, trying to pick the breeze as they go down the run. Prudential is electing to go a little bit further to the left of the course.
Let's go. Main on hampers.
On board Skilled Engineering, Andrew DeVola calling a good set by his crew, and they're still right there. Current positions, Prima Drink is 7th, Skilled Engineering is 6th. On the way up through to the leader at this stage, Adrian Carlin in Ella Bachet.
And they've picked that angle just absolutely right, because now they've got 3 strings, in other words 3 people out the end of the wings, and they've got the boat going at full speed. In fact, I think Xerox, picking the angle well again, has probably slipped up into 2nd place, because I think Prudential went a little bit too far to the left-hand side of the course.
There they are coming into picture now, and they've gone down lower. No, I think Prudential have still got Xerox there at this stage. Xerox getting close to putting herself into a position where she can cover Prudential's air, but probably not quite close enough to do it just now. And now the skiffs are getting into a nice little gust, generating up around 15 to 18 knots of bow speed. That's interesting to me because the breeze is blowing no more than 12 knots, sailing faster than the wind.
Yes, they're able to do this. They push what we call the apparent breeze around and actually can sail faster than the amount of wind that's there. It sounds a little bit confusing, but that's actually what happens. And Ella Bachet is stretching her lead over the rest of the fleet, and Ella Bachet doing a fine job. They've been knocking on the door all year to take out a major win, and today could be the day.
Generating maximum pressure, coming down towards the bottom end of the course, going for the spinnaker drop now. Neil McDonald goes in and starts reefing in that 1,000 square feet of sail and sticking it in the little bag, perched up on the deck there. It's a heck of a difficult job, and it's got to be done quickly, and Ella Bachet has stretched her lead over these two, but Xerox, Phil Barnett, making a comeback in this race, although just now Prudential in excellent pressure, but being driven off the course. All skiffs being driven off the course. They're not down towards the bottom end of the course at all. They're being run off into Taylor's Bay. Taylor's Bay over on the left, the breeze has changed direction, coming more from the east, and driven them down off the course. And all these skiffs now having to drop their spinnakers early, which is going to cause a complete change in things, because now it's down to crew work and picking the right angle. Meantime, tip-top wide high five being able to carry their spinnaker higher than the rest of them, sailing over the top of Prudential at the moment and getting right up there. And indeed Xerox now sailing over the top of Prudential, so Prudential suffering worst from this change in direction in the breeze.
And not only sailing over the top of Prudential, but also over the top of Ella Bachet.
Coming up to the bottom mark. Clinging to a narrow lead now. Round she goes, Ella Bache. All skiffs were driven off the course by that direction change in the breeze, and Prudential still in trouble with their spinnaker, and Prudential, previously second, has been blown right off the course. There they are in red, still trying to get themselves sorted out to round that bottom mark. In pink, Ella Bache, smooth as silk, she's come around, and she is now a clear leader. Xerox, now second.
Drag them on, Tom, get them up Prudential.
On board Skilled Engineering.
Rounding the mark on Skilled Engineering and crossing just behind Prudential. Prudential getting back round onto the port tack and heading off after these guys, but they now have to try and get past Xerox, because Xerox slipped up into second position during that. In fact, they have to get up past Tip Top Wide High Five too, because Andrew Cuddy did very well down there. He's now up into third.
Going for a tack on Tip Top. That's nice and smooth, not losing much speed.
Sydney Harbour ferry coming through to mix it up for them. One of the new big jet cats, and that's going to stir things up a bit. And look at that, Tip Top Wide High Five crosses just ahead of Prudential. They had right of way. Prudential had to slide around behind them. And now they get into all the bubbles in that wake, and that makes a mess of things as well. So that's going to make it a bit more interesting. The ferry going through, not so much of a problem for these guys. They're down below the ferry, don't have to worry too much about it. Leading quite comfortably now, although there's Ella Bache tacking, and Xerox getting closer to them. Xerox coming in from their left and getting closer. On board, Skilled Engineering.
Come on, Mr. Come on, get it flat. We're not going anywhere. Let's tack.
Andrew DeVola not happy with his speed.
Well, Andrew DeVola expressing a certain amount of discontent there about wearing the helmet camera, and it looks like it got in the road ever so slightly there, but of course we appreciate the fact that the sailors do wear the helmet on their heads to allow us to bring to the viewers those close-up shots as we see Ella Bache cross still quite comfortably ahead of Xerox. Well, quite comfortably is an exaggeration. There's only now about 2 boat lengths in it, so Xerox mounting a challenge.
Xerox going across to cover the moves of Ella Bache. They can feel they're closing the gap, so they're going to go across and mount some more pressure on Adrian Carlin.
And of course, the move that brought Xerox right back into this race was coming down off the wind with spinnakers when she got the best angle, did the best drop and caught right up. And now on the way back up to the top mark for the final time, she is closing the gap rapidly. The gap is actually not as wide as that picture made it look, because Xerox is further up the course than Ella Bache. Both skiffs sailing as close as possible to directly into the wind. Ella Bache now changing directions, perhaps for the last time before they round that top mark, and still sailing very smoothly and looking every inch a winner.
Yes, and Ella Bache is elected to go closer to the shore than Prudential.
And indeed, Prudential now is well behind these two. Xerox very much within striking distance of Ella Bache. Adrian Carlin has done fabulously well to stay out ahead of this race, to maintain her lead, but Xerox within striking distance, only about 10 seconds in it, and it will take just one false move from the crew on board Ella Bache and Xerox will be right there. Prudential tacks to come back at them.
Now, if Ella Bache has overlaid the mark, that means that Xerox may be able to slip through underneath them and get round the mark first. But it's certainly very close indeed, and this is coming down to the tacticians on board, the people that decide when to tack, which side of the course to go to, and very close indeed. And Ella Bache will try and just slip across the front of Xerox and give them dirty air and slow their progress down, which they have done very well.
Beautiful manoeuvre from Adrian Carlin there to run over the top of, and look at that, look how quickly they slide out the back door once that air that's disturbed reaches their sails. What a change it makes, and you see that happen every time as in goes Neil McDonald, opens the spinnaker bag. Oops, she's not quite open, Neil. There he goes. Craig Ramsden starting to pull it up. And this is a vital set for Ella Bache. Got to get it up. Oh, seem to be struggling with it. Now, Craig Ramsden is a really strong young man, and yet he seems to be struggling to get that spinnaker up. Where is the spinnaker on Ella Bache?
Now, this is strange, Bill, because this has happened a few times. It just seems that the spinnaker on Ella Bache is very hard to get to the top of the mast. So as you said, Craig is very strong, but every time they do it, they struggle, and Xerox has just blown them away. Oh no, this is a disaster. The spinnaker has gone in the water, it's around the fin, and any chance they had of winning is completely over.
Prudential around the top mark, not where she wants to be. Dave Slennett, Chris Harmsen doing their work, bringing that spinnaker up and not having a smooth one, not having a good day. They're now back in third position and they're struggling to maintain their position in this race. Skilled Engineering comes up to the top mark. She's back there in fifth position.
Xerox has taken the initiative, blown Elabashe out the back door, and there they are, the stranded Elabashe. Prudential about to overtake them, and Xerox is just opening up a huge gap, and I don't know whether Rob Brown can do anything about it.
Well, the tragedy on board Elabashe continues. They still don't have that spinnaker sorted out. They were clear leaders. Now they've got Skilled Engineering and Tip-Top White Hi-Fi bearing down on them. They've already lost a position to Prudential. They're back to third, and if they don't get it sorted out soon, they'll be right out the back door.
Doesn't take long, Bill, because you can go from hero to zero in about 5 seconds flat in this class.
Oh, and they're wallowing and they can't get it unclipped up the top up there. It's caught up the mast somewhere, and even a crew as brilliant and as experienced as Neil McDonald and Craig Ramsden still haven't been able to sort that thing out. Well, that's great news for Phil Barnett because he is now in charge of this race. Moving up into third position there now is Tip-Top White Hi-Fi, Andrew Cuddy having another good race. There's Prudential in second position. But here are the guys who are really laughing. Phil Barnett and the team on Xerox up into first position. In yesterday's race, Prudential won. Xerox now looking flash for race 2. That really means the series remains wide open, and Phil Barnett can count his lucky stars that things went crook on board Elabashe. Currently in fifth position. Skilled Engineering is still right with them and still carrying headcam. And Andrew Davola trying to make up ground, still doing very nicely.
It's hard and debuggery, and there's a ferry coming through. We want to try and get inside that ferry if we can.
You've got to check out the traffic constantly because Sydney Harbour is very congested, and a ferry or a ship can change the whole outcome of a race.
Competitors now getting down towards the other side of Taylor Bay and the bottom end of the course for the last time. Prudential is second, Tip-Top White Hi-Fi third, Elabashe fourth. Out ahead of them, Xerox leads. Xerox looking good to keep this series wide open. And there are the total current positions, and really not much between them at all in very, very fluky, tough conditions, testing the intellectual capacity of these sailors to the full.
Yes, and we can good shot there of the head cam on board the skipper of Skilled, Andrew Davola, and Xerox really took the initiative there. They mounted the pressure on Elabashe, and Elabashe succumbed to that pressure, and they got handed the race on a platter. But certainly for second, this is wide open with any 4 of these boats able to take that position.
Xerox rounds the bottom mark for the last time. She's got a comprehensive lead. Breeze once again down the bottom down here, just drops right out. She's just come around that bottom mark over near Chowder Bay for the final time. Now tacking her way up to the start-finish line. Will be there very, very shortly and looks unassailable at this point of time. Coming down now, and here's the battle for third and fourth. Tip-Top White Hi-Fi has been caught right up to by Elabashe. So after recovering from those diabolical problems, Elabashe has got right back into this race and is now back in the hunt for third position.
Yes, well, the breeze shifted there, the direction of the breeze shifted, and the velocity has dropped down to probably about 6 knots. So that has helped Elabashe because they're at the bottom end of the course and we're able to sail a little bit faster. There's going to be a traffic jam at the bottom end and it's going to come down to the crew work again.
Andrew Cuddy taking Tip-Top White Hi-Fi out ahead of Elabashe again, but meanwhile Xerox has completed her leg up from the bottom mark to the finish line, and through she goes now, and that is it. Another victory to the Xerox team. Bank of New Zealand coming down to the bottom mark in trouble. Bank of New Zealand slipped right out the back door up behind Shark Island about 10 minutes back. Not sure what happened to them, but I do know now that they're in real strife here over near the rocks at Clifton Gardens. Oh, and look at that, a broken spinnaker pole. No wonder they're out the back door.
I don't know whether they've been involved in a collision or not, but there's certainly one about to happen here. And Elabashe wants to watch out they don't hit that mark with their wing, because that's not a soft mark.
The results of race 2 of the AAMI Challenge, a terrific victory to Xerox set up by that mistake on board Elabashe at the top end of the course when that spinnaker refused to do what it was told. Prudential finishes in second position and after 2 races. These are the progress points. Phil Barnett still is co-leader, and Phil Barnett still feels that it's Rob Brown who's got to do it all to win.
We're the leader in the series, and you know, it's up to Rob to have a bit of a go at this stage, and until we lose that advantage, I think it's all in Rob's court, and we've just got to be conscious of what's going on.
Another fine performance by Phil Barnett and the team off Xerox out there today, and now this series is going right down to the wire. We'll see who hangs in best under that pressure when we return tomorrow with race 3.